Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me yet, hi, my name is Sofia and I post videos on this channel on Wednesdays and Sundays about minimalism, intentional living, goal getting, I guess, things that will help you live a little bit of a more intentional life. For today, I have a Q&A video for you guys. I asked a couple of weeks ago for everyone to leave me some questions on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook about anything regarding minimalism, so from starting to maybe some struggles you're having, and I sort of chose the ones that I either found most interesting or that were the most common ones to share with you guys today. So I hope that this is helpful. If you haven't done so yet, please don't forget to subscribe and give me a big like. It helps me out a lot. Really trying to get this channel to grow this year. I'm super dedicated, very excited to be sharing all this content with you guys. I really appreciate all of you. And with that, let's get right into it. The first question is from Couple TNE, and they asked, what inspired you to become a minimalist? I'm going to leave a link down below to the video where I talk about how minimalism helps with my anxiety so that you can see the whole story if you want to. But essentially, I struggle with anxiety. I've been diagnosed with general anxiety disorder, and now it's under control and everything's okay. But one of the things that I realized aggravated my anxiety was if my environment was very cluttered, very unorganized. I feel like if I have a clean space, my mind is very at peace, and if you see like my entire apartment is very like white and serene, that just really helps with my mindset. It also helped me a lot with decision fatigue because I apply minimalism to my clothes as well, which means that in the morning it's a lot easier for me to get dressed because everything I have goes with each other and it's things that I love and feel comfortable in. So definitely it has helped my anxiety and saved me a lot of time. Rebecca asks, how do you handle the decluttering of sentimental items, and also how do you handle minimalism at Christmas? I'll answer these one at a time, but essentially handling decluttering of sentimental items is probably the most reoccurring question I had for this Q&A. And honestly, I think that first of all, it's very important to understand that minimalism is about making it work for you. And if you have sentimental things around that make you very happy, then you should definitely keep them. For some people, that might mean keeping every single yearbook they ever had at school. The reason we're so attached to sentimental items is because we believe that they anchor down a memory for us. There's a truth to it, but also a fallacy to it, where the truth is that yes, looking at that item could definitely trigger you to remembering this memory, but the other aspect of it is that it's not necessarily the item. So what I mean by this is, for example, when I first got Benji, my dog, we got him a bunch of little toys. He eventually destroyed them because he was teething, and I felt super sad to let go of these toys. I guess if any of you are parents, you might relate to some extent. So what I ended up doing is before I tossed these toys, I took a picture of them and I put them in a little album on my phone called Benji. So now whenever I go through that album and I re-see these toys, I'm like, oh, this was his first toy. So I didn't necessarily have to keep the toy, but I definitely kept a picture of it, which is sort of digital clutter, but I guess we can all agree that digital clutter isn't as overwhelming as actual physical clutter. So for example, if you have kids and you don't want to be decluttering their artwork, what you could consider doing is taking a picture of all of their art pieces and then at the end of the year making them a little flip-through book that they can enjoy and just look at all their drawings. So if you can find a way to hang on to that memory in a better way without actually keeping the physical item, then that is your surefire way to being able to declutter this sentimental item. How do I handle minimalism at Christmas is a little bit different, and let's say over the holidays, because this doesn't just apply to Christmas. But I'm very strict with actually responding to the question, what would you like for your birthday, when people ask me that. Because I used to be like, no, you don't have to get me anything for my birthday. And it's true, I don't want them to get me anything for my birthday, but I know that they will anyway, many of the times. So it's much easier for them and for me if I tell them. I have asked for a Netflix subscription. So I watch Netflix every day. I don't have cable TV. I've once asked someone for a Netflix gift card, and then I just had 3 months of free Netflix. If you can find ways to like get people to help you out with your bills in those little fun ways, like an Amazon Prime subscription maybe, then that's a great place to start. Caroline asks, what is your favorite thing about minimalism and your least favorite thing? So my favorite thing about minimalism is definitely not having to dust or clean up so many objects. Everything I own sort of has a home, so it's very easy to keep my place organized because I know where everything goes and I try to make sure it goes back to its home at the end of every use. My least favorite thing is definitely the guilt that comes with shopping now. I've become so sort of strict about what I bring into my home when it comes to objects that even when I do buy something that I really, really want or need or love, I'm like, do I really want to bring this into my house? Like, am I going to end up decluttering it? When I'm on a trip and other people are buying like souvenirs and I'm like, oh, I should get that. But the way that I've solved that is I get postcards. I'm a major scrapbooker. I love scrapbooking. So I will get postcards. The funner, the better. And I will stick them into my scrapbook. Kimba asks, how does one balance wanting just the essentials in one's life with being prepared? For example, having enough food and supplies for months in case something happens. This is also a very recurring question, and it's a very good question. And I don't think that there's a one solution fits all answer for this. I think that whether or not you keep supplies depends on your life and where you live. For example, here where I live in Belgium, we don't really have hurricanes or floods or any other major events that could disrupt daily life like that. So for me, for example, having a couple of like extra canned goods and maybe a couple of extra packs of spaghetti that don't take up that much space is enough in case of an emergency. But it's very unlikely that there would be an emergency, even when the supermarkets ran out of food during like the peak of what's going on right now in the world. I don't want to say that because I don't want this video to get demonetized. It only lasted for a few days. So look honestly at where you live and your current lifestyle, how many people your household's comprised of, and maybe choose the amount of time that you believe would be realistic to need food for. Maybe that's 1 week, maybe that's a month. And then just have those goods there guilt-free. I mean, the way I see it, it's also good having your own sort of like stock in case you run out of something and you don't have time to go to the supermarket. What are the circumstances of where you live and what would really possibly happen? And maybe take the worst case scenario, cut it by 50% and save enough food for that amount of time. Frederica asks, how do you let go of memories linked to stuff? I struggle with throwing away things I have received from people I care about, even if I'm well aware I don't need them or use them. So again, the tip that I said earlier helps me a little bit with this, taking pictures of the things in order to keep them. I think that again, if you have objects that are genuinely making you happy, like if you got, let's say, a scarf from your grandma and she passed away and you don't necessarily use it, but every time that you open your closet and you see it, it like warms your heart, there's no reason why you should be giving it up. Now, if you have 20 of these scarves, maybe paring down to a couple of ones and finding a good use for them. If they're pretty, maybe gifting them to a friend or a family member. A huge tip that I apply for myself as well is whenever I get gifts, and if they come with an exchange receipt, it can feel quite rude to say like, or to just go and exchange it because maybe the person will know. So what I tend to do is when someone gifts me something that needs exchanging, and it's not just a size thing, it's like an actual I don't like whatever was gifted to me thing, I will try to make a day out of it with the person. So let's say like this has happened before, that my dad gives me a sweater and it didn't fit, but I also didn't love it. So I asked him like, would you like to come shopping with me one afternoon? This was before, you know, shopping was still safe. We would just make an afternoon of it and go shopping together and exchange it together. Kirsten asks, how do you start when it feels too overwhelming? This one's another really reoccurring question. My biggest advice to you is to start as small as you can possibly start. And make maybe a list of things you want to tackle every single day, but make this list so small that it'd be silly if you didn't accomplish it. For example, day one, you're going to declutter the top corner of the right cabinet on your kitchen. Like the top right shelf, not even the whole cabinet, just that one shelf. And then at the end of the day, you go and you do it. Two things could happen. One, you're like, well, this didn't really make that much progress, I only cleaned the shelf. Yes, but if you're consistent and you do it every day, in less than a year, your whole entire house will be decluttered. It might not feel like a very fast pace, but it took me over a year to get to where I am right now, and I'm definitely not at my destination yet. The other thing that it could do is it could inspire you to keep going. Like, for example, you finish the top shelf and you're like, oh, this was pretty easy, maybe I'll tackle the next shelf. But make it so small that you don't get overwhelmed by it anymore. Deal with your sock drawer, then move on to your underwear drawer, then maybe move on to your junk drawer. Start with things that are easy for you, so don't dive in straight into sentimental items. Maybe go for your paper clutter first. because usually paper is the type of stuff that like accumulates, but we don't really need it after a while. Alice asks, what do you do with the things you no longer want to keep? Well, the first thing I ask myself is there someone I know who could use this? If there is, I'll ask them if they want it. I always try to sell things if they have any sort of value, which works out quite well. People are willing to buy things on Facebook Marketplace that you wouldn't expect. And then I look into if I could use it for helping someone. So for example, here in Belgium, there's a lot of these sort of recycling bin types of things that are meant for leaving clothes for homeless people. They only accept things that are still usable, so nothing with too many holes or dirty or something like that. And worst case scenario, I'll unfortunately throw it out. I'm not going to say I've never thrown anything out. I have, that's just the reality of it. But the thing is, once you purchase it, it's going to end up in a landfill sooner or later. It's unrealistic to think that an object would have a use for the rest of its life. Instead of worrying about that guilt, what I worry about is at the moment of purchase, I really try to make sure that I'm intentional about what I'm buying. And if it is something that I know can't be recycled, like an electronic, for example, make sure that I really, 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 really want it and there's no other way for me to get it. So I can't buy it secondhand, or it wouldn't make sense in terms of hygiene to buy it secondhand. And then I make the purchase. So I take that guilt from throwing it out and I try to apply it to the purchase, bringing it in process. Another question Alice asked was, how do you get rid of things you actually like if everything you own you actually like and use? Don't do it. Don't throw it out. If you actually use and like everything you have and it doesn't get in your way and it doesn't bother you, there's no reason for you to be giving it away or getting rid of it. Again, minimalism is different for everyone and it's supposed to be tailored to your lifestyle and your needs. And finally, Alice also asked, what is the benefit? Like I said, I'll have the link below for my anxiety video, but I definitely think the benefit is that you regain control of your life in many aspects. Your house is a lot easier to clean. Your time is a lot easier to manage because you spend a lot less time thinking about things like, what am I going to wear? And I genuinely think that it helps you feel a lot calmer and a lot more focused, but that's just me. I hope this video was useful to you guys. If it was, please don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. It really, really, really helps. And subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on that notification bell and I will see you guys next Wednesday for our Wednesday video.